There is something fascinating and delightful happening since Herschel Walke lost his election in Georgia on Tuesday, which is the Republican blame game. It's your fault. It's your fault. Hey, who said not to vote early anyway? That wasn't a good idea. Why didn't more senators go to Georgia to campaign for Herschel Walke? They're all pointing fingers. And the most important takeaway here to me is this was something they brought on themselves. We're going to listen to all sorts of different finger pointing here. We're starting with Ari Fleischer, former Bush administration official on the Sean Hannity program last night, saying you need good candidates, starting to point to the candidate choice. And then Hannity says, well, but Herschel Walke was a good candidate. This is the best stuff.
The reason that things are so close down the middle.
Yeah.
But the final point I'll make, Sean, is mechanics are always important in campaigns, but candidate quality is essential. Good candidates will win. And the big issue for Republicans still is who is our leader, who's the candidate at the top,
well, I will
who
say
has
this
the best opportunity to bring people in.
So Fleischer seems to both be saying Trump at the top isn't great for the party, and Walke also wasn't a particularly good candidate, but both of which are arguably true.
Herschel, I thought, was a good candidate. I know people disagree with that, but he got outspent in the runoff about 3 to 4 to 1. He got outspent in the general election by an equal amount. That makes a difference. Money in politics makes a pretty big difference.
Yeah. So now, all of a sudden, the concern is money in politics for Sean Hannity because Walke was a good candidate. Walke was not a good candidate, but he almost won anyway because the electorate in Georgia is so depraved that they thought this guy is a better option than Raphael Warnock, which is really wacky stuff. Then, sticking with Hannity for the time being, Hannity says, in some cases, maybe Republicans do actually need to pick better candidates. And he says, not Walke, but he talks about maybe Doug Mastriano.
Michigan. In some cases, Republicans do need better candidates. I'll give you one example, not to pick on Pennsylvania gubernatorial candidate Doug Mastriano, but you look at his position on abortion. He had no exceptions for rape, incest, the mother's life. In Pennsylvania, I'm talking politically, not morally here, you cannot win.
Morally, it's all bad.
Pennsylvania with that position. It is simply mathematically impossible. A bad candidate for that race, and it had impact on the entire Republican ticket.
So this is just interesting because you've got Ari Fleischer saying Trump at the top of the ticket isn't good for Republicans. Walke wasn't a good candidate. Then in comes Hannity and says, no, Walke was a good candidate, but Doug Mastriano was not a good candidate. The finger pointing is starting. Then we go to Kellyanne Conway. And Kellyanne Conway's message is the problem is other Republican senators. It wasn't Herschel Walke. It was that the 49 Republican senators didn't go to Georgia to help Herschel Walke, a new target of her blame.
I think people are saying we need a new message. Let me just say something respectfully to the 49 Republican senators.
Right.
Where were most of you?
Right.
Why weren't you in Georgia? Few of them were, but they all should have been, gentlemen, because they should have been there in some form, a teletown hall in person, saying the following. I serve in the United States Senate with Raphael Warnock. He's a terrible senator. He doesn't represent Georgia. He's not fit to serve. He votes with Joe Biden. He voted for Inflation Reduction Act. It doesn't do that. He said nothing when they pulled out of Afghanistan. He said nothing that Joe Biden's been to Delaware 174 days and down to the border 0 days. That's what needs to happen. Where were the other senators to say, I want Herschel Walke, not Raphael Warnock, in the Senate with me?
This is absolutely the best. Okay, so Ari Fleischer says the problem is Trump at the top of the ticket and Walker's not a good candidate. Hannity says, no, Walke was a good candidate. Trump at the top of the ticket's fine, but Doug Mastriano was a bad candidate, and it was money in politics that hurt Herschel Walke. Kellyanne Conway says the problem is the incumbent Republican senators. They should have been there helping Herschel Walke. Then we go to Mark Levin, Fox News host. He points out, hey, Republicans aren't explaining their positions on any issues. That's the problem.
The reason people don't vote is they don't have a reason to vote. What was the Republican position on inflation? What were they going to do? I still don't know.
Well, there was no position. And he's not wrong. I mean, listen, Mark Levin is correctly pointing out, what were they going to do about inflation? Now, Herschel Walke couldn't even understand what inflation was. He has no idea what's going on. Up was down, day was night. For Herschel Walke, it was like a twilight zone. There was no... That's why Walke didn't express his position. But why haven't Republicans explained what they're going to do about inflation? Well, It's because they can't really do anything about it. These things are cyclical and they're global, and you need to figure out what can we do until inflation comes down beyond, we've talked about what the Fed can do, et cetera. That's an economic discussion. But Mark Levin is now saying they're not expressing their views on issues correctly. And then the last clip, here is Charlie Kirk, and he says Republicans aren't voting because they don't trust the process. Well, why don't they trust the process? Because Charlie Kirk's MAGA movement that he is a part of has been saying you can't trust the process.
You see, it's interesting. I actually assumed incorrectly that if you take time to watch this program, thank you.
Right.
That you would also just automatically vote. Turns out there's a fair portion of you that are completely done and that are willing to voice that opinion.
Why would he think that his program, which endlessly talks about how everything's rigged, is going to encourage people to vote?
Do we have that Laura Ingraham clip that we guys pulled? And I just want to say, I do sympathize with being upset with the Republican Party and not totally trusting the system. But not participating at all guarantees the other side to be able to play games. And if everything was broken and lost, how did we win the House of Representatives? If everything is broken and lost, how did Ron Johnson, who stood up against the pharmaceutical company, win?
Well, he barely won. And Charlie Kirk is right. Charlie Kirk, of course, is right. And I asked this question in 2020. They say the presidential election was rigged, but all the senators and members of Congress on the same damn ballots who won, they don't say a peep about those. But if it was rigged, how wouldn't there be some incongruence? And Charlie Kirk is now realizing, well, all of this talk about it being rigged, it makes people think it's not worth voting. And that is exactly what we have been talking about for a long time. So the finger pointing is happening. Will they figure it out before 2024? They very well might. They very well might. We're going to be here with you until then. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. 3 million people in October. We're trying to figure it. We'll have the number for November soon. 3.2 million of you in October watched our videos on YouTube, didn't subscribe. Please subscribe. It is free and it does wonders for us in the YouTube algorithm. We'll take a quick break and be right back. One of our sponsors today is Feels. Feels is a premium CBD designed to help you feel your best, delivered right to your door. With everything going on in our daily lives, we all need to take a moment to relax, and that's where Feels comes in. Many people report CBD helping with anxiety, stress, and sleeplessness. If you have aches or pains, there are people who use CBD as a safe, natural method for relieving pain without side effects. Feels CBD oil is awesome. The CBD-infused mints are great. They leave you with fresh breath. You can try Feels caffeine-free focus melts to get you through the afternoon slump. Feels even offers a free hotline with experts to give you advice about CBD, dosage, finding the right starting point. And when you join the Feels monthly membership, you'll save money on every order and you can pause or cancel at any time. Become a member today and get 50% off your first order with free shipping when you go to feels.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman. The link is down below.